Yes, guys, what's going on? Welcome to AdamMcKola TV. We are back for another United Daily Live. Hope you guys are all doing well, and we're here today to look at the latest news surrounding Manchester United. We're looking at some quotes regarding Ravel Morrison. We're looking at United potentially signing a youngster from Sunderland as well. We're looking at how Premier League games could be shown for free on YouTube. And of course, we're looking at the Athletic's latest report on Manchester United's hunt, 2-year hunt for a director of football. It has been one that has been hotly debated and discussed by Manchester United fans for a long time, probably since Sir Alex Ferguson left the club. And it's been one that has come into more of a fierce debate in the last couple of years, and in the last 2 years we've been linked with getting a director of football. It's been something that's been mooted by the club itself. They've briefed many times that they're after a director of football or someone in that kind of sporting director role. And we've got further reports on that from the Athletic today, which we will be looking at as well here on AdamMcKola TV. So making sure you're keeping it locked, you're liking, you're commenting, you're sharing, you're subscribing, and of course you're joining as well. Thank you to PKC the First, who has joined AdamMcKola TV and has become the most recent member of AdamMcKola TV. So thank you very much to PKC the First for joining us on AdamMcKola TV. And thank you to Tariq, Al, Ross, Sammy, Don Falcone, Kazim as well for joining us here on AdamMcKola TV Live. Whether you're watching us live or you watch us back later on in the day, thank you very much for tuning in to AdamMcKola TV. And United Daily Live will be returning to the usual time of 12 p.m. on Tuesday, so make sure you're back for that. Danny Sunders in the comments. Cannonball is watching as well. It's 3 a.m. Where Cannonball is at the moment, and he's up right now watching AdamMcKola TV. That is dedication from one of our mods and one of the viewers on AdamMcKola TV. So thank you very much to Cannonballer. Alan's here as well, as is Blur back in the house. Thank you very much for joining us. And as I was saying, was looking at that report from the Athletic. Let me get the app up on my phone right about now. Where is it? There we go. So, why Manchester United no longer want a director of football calling the shots. Laurie Whitwell, who posted this story earlier today, and he's talking about the director of football, and how it's been 2 years since United apparently started their chase for it. And he goes on to say, introducing a senior member into the Old Trafford hierarchy is no longer an active pursuit, or not at least in the way it was originally perceived. Recruitment was the driving aspect to the proposed job when first mooted during Jose Mourinho's tempestuous final transfer window in the summer of 2018. But it's safe to say that such a precise role is not on the agenda anymore. United do not seek a guru to lead policy for signings, nor will anybody coming to take ownership of who sits in the dugout. At other clubs, a director of football or a sporting director has great influence over those two areas of performance. They are ultimately responsible for picking players to add to a squad and choosing managers. Yes, but also they can help in terms of knowing the market, being a constant go-between for your manager and your director, in this case Ed Woodward, and can keep an eye on that market, whereas Ed Woodward doesn't know anything about the market. Now, ultimately, it's down to the managers in this scenario to take control of the situation, and almost, with their scouting staff, with the coaching staff, with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and the negotiating team. I'm sure Solskjaer will have more of a say, and the manager will have more of a say. So it comes down then to their kind of eye for talent. And when you look at Jose Mourinho, traditionally he's had an eye for experienced players. You look at some of the players we were linked with, the players that he won, and they were of a certain age, maybe not within line for Manchester United splashing out big cash. Whereas Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's the players that he's wanted to sign have been players with a lot more years on them. So even if you're spending a big fee, you're not going to have to replace them in 2 or 3 years' time. You wouldn't expect us to replace or need to replace Harry Maguire, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Bruno Fernandes, or Daniel James in the squad in the next 3 or 4 years. So, they have a complete different outlook on transfers, and that would come down to the manager. It's then down to, in our instance, the likes of Matt Judge and Ed Woodward in terms of doing the final negotiating for Manchester United. And that becomes a problem when, maybe Ed Woodward's not in that position to be doing that, or not an ideal person to be in that position to be doing that. The article goes on to say, at United, the structure is different. Principally, the status of the manager is paramount. As we were just saying, the club wants to stay close to the level of authority Sir Alex Ferguson maintained. Ole Solskjaer's line to Ed Woodward will always be direct, rather than bisected by another individual. See, there's good bits and there's bad bits to that. Obviously, I think when you've got a manager like Sir Alex Ferguson, you don't want anyone interfering in things. So maybe it comes down to your manager's preference, and Ollie's preference seemed to be doing things his own way. Their relationship is described as vital. When it comes to hiring and firing, the decision rests with Woodward, who remains trusted by the Glazer family even after Moyes, Van Gaal and Mourinho have come and gone, which is probably the worst paragraph in the whole article for a United perspective, especially from the fans' point of view. The expensive lurch from one mode of signing to another as each man entered and left Old Trafford can be scrutinised, of course, and that is why many within the football industry feel United would benefit from the consistency of player selection that a director of football ought to bring. United never had that consistency. When you look at some of the signings over the years that we have made, even some of the players that we've got left on our books at the moment, Marcus Rojo being one of them. He never really fit into a pattern of signings. Our first transfer window was Mata and Fellaini. There's no correlation between those two signings. You look at other windows where we brought in players and there wasn't really any links to, or any sense to what we were doing there. And apart from the first summer under Jose Mourinho, where we brought in Bailly and Zlatan and Mkhitaryan and stuff, you never really got the sense of that under Jose Mourinho. Now, he wasn't helped by those above him, and maybe someone like Jose Mourinho would have benefited from a director of football being in there. And that's where we got the talk from Campos, which again this article goes on to talk about. Let's have a look. Talks had been held with Rio, Evra, Vidic, Fletcher, but it became apparent that ex-players were providing valued opinion rather than anything more formal. The simple truth is that anybody who now joins will not be given the influence typical associated with such a role, because United are eminently satisfied at their collaborative approach, which has been constructive in the years since Ferguson left. There is the football management side, Solskjaer and Phelan. The recruitment side, which has at its top Marcel Bout, head of global scouting, Mick Court, technical chief scout, and Jim Lawler, chief scout. So that's who we have running this ship, and then they go to Matt Judge and of course what's his face, Ed Woodward. A director of football is responsible for a vision. United have no vision. I feel like I agree, but I also feel like that's a bit unfair, because I think there's been a clear vision under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in terms of the signings that he's made, the players that he's introduced into the first team. There seems to be a sense of direction under him, or at least a sense of he knows what he's doing. A new manager will not want Ole's players. Again, I think that's bullshit. You look at the signings that he's made. That's why a lot of people, which was unrealistic to me, but a lot of people said Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for director of football. But you look at it, and it was because of the fact that he brought in the profile of players that would be at United for a long time. I think any manager would want Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, Bruno Fernandes. Um, why wouldn't a manager want those three players? Kazim says, to be honest, director of football was never really an agenda. It certainly feels that way as soon as Jose Mourinho got shown the door anyway. Ashwin, keep up the good work, my man, or keep up the work. Yes, mate, I will do so. If they're going to stick with Woodward, he needs to give Ollie what he wants, says Ross. Would you take Aubameyang, says CC? Yeah. I don't, strictly would I take Aubameyang as a player? Yes, I would. But, do I think we'll sign him, or will we focus on signing him? Probably not. Probably not. Read a credible article a few weeks ago saying we've got a small team behind the scenes, including Phelan giving the role of director of football just without a title. Says Al. Yeah, it'll be people conducting those roles. Nice one, Edwin. I appreciate that. Watching from California. And whether you're watching in California or Cambodia or Cambridge or Manchester or Mumbai, wherever you're watching, make sure you're keeping it locked to AdamMcKola TV. You're liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing. And like PKC, the first who joined AdamMcKola TV today, you can join as well for extra exclusive content. We do, of course, have daily content on the channel, which you can subscribe for, which is, of course, United Daily Live every single day. Today, on Mondays, it's at 10:30, but every other day in the week is at 12 p.m. And then we have other content throughout the day. So earlier on, we had the Premier League Gazette. Tuesdays and tomorrow, you'll have the Rumourator. Wednesday, Master Debaters. Thursday, you have Weekly United. Friday, Straight Up MUFC. Saturday, you have FIFA or Football Manager content. Sunday, you have the Pod to Nowhere. So that's twice daily content. And Nimai is late again. What we're going to do here. Different managers, different kinds of players. That's why it's important to have a director of football for consistency. Nice one, mate. Thank you for watching. Appreciate that. And I agree with that, but I disagree with the bit about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's signings, because I think a lot of managers would want them. But I do agree with what you're saying in terms of the director of football. Of course, they come in, and because they're, if a manager comes and goes, you've still got someone there that's implementing that same manner of signing players. But at the same time, if your manager stays for a longer period of time, then you probably don't need that. And that's why we didn't need that. And it was absurd to suggest we'd get one under Sir Alex Ferguson. It's only become a conversation since Sir Alex Ferguson left. Matty says, do you think that we ever really wanted a director of football at any point, or was it just Woodward trying to take the pressure off himself? Probably the latter. Probably the latter, mate. There was always a briefing when the pressure was on, wasn't there? And nothing would ever come of it. And I imagine after Jose Mourinho had gone, there was never really any intent on getting that in. Ryan, thank you very much, mate, for tuning in. And Nimai, thank you for tuning in. Yes, I am from Brom. Anything else in the comments? Manchester United's plans to increase the capacity put on hold due to coronavirus. I doubt there was ever any plans to really do that, but this article has just popped up on the Mail Online. It says Old Trafford's capacity has fallen from 76,000 to around 73,300, and that's because of obviously new implementation of disabled seating and things like that in various parts of the ground. All clubs had to keep up to date with regulations around that and implement more seating, which is fine. It makes it a more accessible game, but obviously because of that, United have a smaller capacity now, and they have had plans on increasing the capacity at Old Trafford. Now, we've heard this for an awfully long time. Ever since really it became 76, we've heard about a potential increase, and it's not really been realistic. I know the club for years have had issues in terms of the railway standing, building in that area, and the properties behind the stand and the railway itself, and moving that, and all sorts of issues. But there's never really been any appetite from the Glazers for an expansion anyway. And it says in this article, though, contrary to what I'm saying, they had hoped to act after the introduction of new areas for disabled supporters had recently reduced capacity. However, any work is now on hold until the end of next season, whenever that may be. And I think that's just something that is the newspapers using a chance to get an article out there. And you know, it's just another thing affected by the coronavirus when really there probably wasn't a huge appetite anyway for them to do that. How you doing, Fitzroy? Thank you for joining us. Edward Waller, thank you for joining us. Andrew White is bringing in players that will play for the badge and not for the wage. Speaking about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Yes, it does look like that is the case. I've got it wrong in this graphic. Should have put 300,000. But Manchester United have been linked with the signing of Joe Hugill from Sunderland, 16-year-old striker, in a £300,000 deal. Been linked with a move to Spurs and Arsenal and various other clubs as well. But it believed United have jumped ahead of them with a £300,000 deal potentially going ahead. Whether that happens with the coronavirus situation being as it is, or unless it's United taking advantage of the coronavirus situation. Be interesting to see, but he's obviously one signed for the future and one that will be going into the academy. So, you know, if I wanted to be a proper clickbait merchant and absolutely take everyone's pants down and get everyone clicking in, we probably have 9,000 rather than 90 watching this at the moment, would be to put United, you know, agreed 300k deal for agreed deal for striker or something. But it's just a player for the academy, so we don't need to go a little bit mad with that. Impressed with all Ali's signings, can see them all being first team players for a while, says Aaron. Fitzroy says, I would keep Ed Woodward for now until we get the right director of football after the rumours that PSG's ex-director of football is linked with us. Ed is the devil we know right now. Sunderland seem to progress in talent. You remember Asaro, says Ross. Yep. They had that young striker as well, Major, didn't they? That's now at Bordeaux. Josh Major, is it? Louis Campos, that's another name that's often linked with Manchester United. Found on many players, Bernardo Silva, Fabinho, etc. Many of the players that were at Monaco. Guys, get hitting that like button, get commenting, get sharing, get subscribing here on AdamMcKola TV. Thanks to those who have kept subscribing recently. We hit around 70,500 subscribers. Almost enough to fill Old Trafford, but we still got a long way to go. We've got to get that plaque so it can sit somewhere behind me with all these shirts. Evening, Jord, how you doing, mate? Thank you for joining us here on AdamMcKola TV. Yeah, I saw Josh Major in the doc as well. Sunderland Till I Die. What a documentary! What a great bit of Netflix that was, or Netflix, because they definitely didn't go up in either of them seasons. Which was good fun. You do feel sorry for them though when you end up watching it. You can't help but, because it makes it more about the human, doesn't it? I did see Paul Ince talking shit, but we're not give Paul Ince the time of day here on AdamMcKola TV. We ain't got time for that. We are going to be back at 12 o'clock as well. Congratulations to Connor, who got engaged this weekend as well. Congratulations, mate. And many blessings to you and your partner. Any more, guys? Any more comments? Any more questions? Any more thoughts? We hear the news that Premier League football could obviously be returning. So there's a meeting on Friday with the government. Once we hear more from that meeting, there's going to be a meeting with the Premier League and the clubs and stuff like that. And they're going to be trying to get the football going ahead for the near future, depending on what happens with the government announcement on Friday. But it's potential that if they get the go-ahead for football to happen, that we'll hear more on Friday about when that will be. And we're hearing now, obviously, because these talks and there's these possibilities of us, having football behind closed doors. The TV companies and the broadcasting agencies are all meeting and they're all getting together to decide how football is going to go ahead, because before we couldn't have every single game, every single match televised because of the fact that the 3 o'clock rule means that you can't have televised games at 3 o'clock. So not all games would be televised. Obviously games would be moved for TV, but not all games would be televised. But now in this instance, all games are going to be televised. Now, Cannonballer says, won't clubs lose TV money if games are streamed on YouTube? No, because these games weren't going to get streamed anyway. You'd still have your regular, there's at least 4 or 5 games on a weekend that don't get televised. And those are probably the ones that would be free because of the fact that if they're just streamed on YouTube, people can still tune into them. There's no fans in the stadium. So there'd still be some on TV, there'd still be some on BT, Sky Sports, Amazon, but they're just deciding how to deal with that. PKC the first, yes mate, we did give you a shout out earlier in the show, but it appears you just joined us. Thank you very much for joining us here on the live stream, and thank you very much for joining us on the channel. You are the most recent member of AdamMcKola TV. We've had a few leaving recently, so we've got around 37 now. That's not an issue at all. A few have left and are going to come back and all that good stuff. But thank you very much for joining us. Vijay, how you doing? Ryan, how you doing? Pod to Nowhere was class this week, but honestly, man, I can't believe you're not a Bond fan. Maybe the first thing I've disagreed with you in 3 years. I remember watching Die Another Day and the Aston Martins. I loved it. But I've never really enjoyed a Bond since then. I don't think I've watched many of them, but I've never really enjoyed them. How you doing, Glenn? Hope you're doing well, mate. Take it easy. See you tomorrow, mate. Thank you very much. And I will see you tomorrow, 12 o'clock on the live, or probably later in the comments. Thank you for joining us again, Glenn. I hope you're having a good evening, mate. If we get Champions League football next season, how far should we get in that? Last 16, then see where we get from in there. That's usually where you want to get to, right? You guys don't get all the games on TV. Over here we get every Premier League game. Yeah, we don't get every single game because of that 3 o'clock rule. If we can't sign anyone this summer, I would give game time to a lot of young players, and maybe we won't have to spend 100 million on the next star, and we have a few unpolished gems in our academy. True stories, mate. I still think we'll sign 1 or 2 players, but I can't imagine there being wholesale changes in terms of incoming. The Pod to Nowhere is something that I've really enjoyed doing. A nice one for the comment T likes. James says, don't know if this is a question for this vid, but if you could choose an 11 of ex-United players still currently playing, who'd be in your team? Probably one for another video, but let me just think off the top of my head. You've got Cristiano Ronaldo, who would obviously be in that team. You've got... Can you put Dean Henderson in goal? You've got Rooney, Nani, Raval Morrison for nostalgic reasons. The Blur says, what happened to the footy manager? Mate, I was gonna upload it on Saturday, and then I realised I wasn't happy with the edit. I rushed the filming, I rushed the edit. I was going to put it out as a standard gaming, me in the corner, the video goes out, and then I thought, I'm not happy with this. I originally wanted to do some bits on green screen, some bits with the general football manager and me in the corner, and then some bits a little bit different away from that. And I didn't, and I thought, instead of just rushing the content out, let me take my time and focus on it. So I'm going to release it probably on Wednesday and just take my time with it, and then get the second episode out on Saturday. So you'll have 2 this week. But I thought, let's just be sensible. Ander Herrera's a good shout. Cameron Raphael says the Blur. Wayne Cristiano says Nimai, no lone players. How you doing, John? Hope you and Alex are doing well, mate. Miss you guys, man. I do play Ultimate Team on FIFA. Well, I used to. I now only use FIFA for pro clubs. Pretty much all I do with it. I'm sick of getting battered by people with amazing cards. Like, I don't invest a lot of money into FIFA, so I don't have the best of teams, so it's annoying in that perspective. But anyway, guys, thank you for tuning in to United Daily Live today. You guys have been absolute legends. Thank you very much for tuning in. Make sure you're keeping it locked. Liking, commenting, sharing and subscribing. It's been a quiet one today, but appreciate you all none the same. We're going to be getting out of here now. But yeah, we'll be back 12 o'clock, United Daily Live, and then we will have the rumour rater for you tomorrow evening. If there's any rumours you want me to get on the rumour rater, get them in the comments, not the live comments if you're watching live now. Get them in the comments of this video and I'll put them in the rumour rater. Put a link to the story that you've seen as well, and we'll get as many as possible in this week's rumour rater. For now though, guys, I am Bald and I am Adam. I am going to get out of here now, but you lot are absolute legends. See you later.